Hello, doctor. How are you? Well, once again, welcome back to COIP Online, and thank you very much once again to follow the program. Thank you very much for the effort and the energy that you are putting and investing in your life to achieve better results following our program. Dr. Ivan and me, we are so proud to know that people from all over the world are now following our program, our protocols, and you know, I love to receive the message that you are sending to almost every day, telling us how Master Coip is changing your life. So thank you very much. Well, today we are going to continue talking about the screws and talking about the way I use the screws to get and to improve the protocols to get better results. In this case, I want to show you how is the protocol that I apply when I want to combine aligners and screws to get a good intrusion in molars. Okay, as you know, the extrusion of the molars is a hard movement that of course is totally predictable, but to do that is mandatory in cases when you have to intrude more than 2-3 millimeters to use the combination of aligners with the screws to get a predictable result. Okay, so in this case, okay, of this woman, when she came to my office, this is the situation that she was presenting. Pay attention to the severe extrusion of the molars in both sides, in the right and on the left, and you can see in the three views, the upper molars were extruded about 5 millimeters, and as you can see, the upper molars were contacting with the gingiva, with the gum of the lower arch. This woman missed the lower molars, she told me, about 10 or 12 years ago, so many years ago, and because of that, the upper molar were extruded to that situation. She asked before to other dentists, and they told her and gave her two options. One, the extraction of the upper molars and put implants in the upper and the lower arch, and also in other clinic they told her to do, you know, to reduce the size of the upper molar, to put a crown, to do an endodontic, and then and with that creating the space for molars in the lower arch. As you know, I'm really conservative, okay, and I'm looking always for protocols that maintain the structure and the health of the mouth. It doesn't make sense for me to do an extraction of the molars that are extruded when I can do a protocol that I can intrude them. And also it doesn't make sense for me to reduce the size, okay, of the upper molar, to do an endodontic, to put a crown, if I can use a protocol where I can intrude. Okay, that's why this is the way we are going to plan this case. Also, in addition of this case, as you can see, I have some deep bite, class 2 in both sides, more severe on the left side than on the right side. Okay, some deep bite. The torque of the upper incisor is retrocline, also in the lower incisor. And as you can see also the arches, as you can see, we have narrow arches in both sides. Okay, the last molar that you see in the lower are the wisdom teeth. Okay, this patient missed, okay, she lose the first and the second molar in the lower arch. Okay, but I'm not going to do the extraction of these wisdom teeth, I'm going to upright them. Okay, and in the upper arch you can see it's a triangular shape. Remember that we have to work first with the transversal plane, looking for something more parabolic. As you know, I like the diamond arch form. This is when I told with the technician, look for a parabolic arch shape, symmetric, and this is what we have to work with this case. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to work this case with the spark aligners. But if you want to do the planification with Invisalign, it's going to be the same. But well, as you can see, the class 2 on the right side, also the extrusion of the first and second molar in the upper arch, and pay attention to the huge mesial inclination of the 48, okay? And also on the left side, you can see the same, a severe class 2, the retroclination of the upper incisors, and the severe inclination of 38. And of course, the severe extrusion of the 27 and 26, and this is what we are going to solve. Pay attention, it's so severe, okay? It's about, in this side, on this side, it's about 4 millimeters of extrusion, okay? And on the other side, we have around 5 millimeters of extrusion of this molar. What I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to combine the protocol of upper molar distalization and intrusion at the same time. Okay, you have learned in other lessons before how is the protocol of upper molar distalization. You know that protocol. And also what we are going to do is to combine both the intrusion and the distillation together. Okay, in these cases, you have to avoid always to do the pure intrusion movement, because the pure intrusion movement, only pure intrusion, if you don't combine it with the distalization, is not going to work. Okay, so what we need to is to create a space mesial and distal to create enough space for the molar to be intruded, okay? Well, the attachments that I'm going to use, most of them are just for anchorage, okay? You can see conventional attachments in almost all the teeth. In the upper arch, you can see in premolars are horizontal occlusal bevel attachments, because what I'm going to plan also is some intrusion of the upper incisors, and as you know for other lessons that the attachment for anchorage is horizontal occlusal bevel, I put it in the 8 premolars, okay? The attachments in molars, in the upper molar, are vertical. You can put horizontal also because are just for anchorage. And in the 38 and in the 48, as you can see, I put this vertical because what I'm going to do is to upright the molar. A tip, an important tip to upright the molars. You have to avoid distal crown tip and mesial root tip, okay? You don't have to do that. To upright, okay, the protocol is to ask for distal crown tip plus intrusion at the same time, but tell the technician not to move the root to mesial. This is so important, okay? It's tip back to the crown and intrusion at the same time. The attachments that we put in the palatal is because we are going to do upper molar distalization at the same time, and as you know, this is the protocol that we use attachment for anchorage. In this case, I put also in buccal, but you can skip the buccal attachments if you want, or you can skip the 2 palatal attachments and leave the 2 in the buccal, okay? This is the situation in the lower. I'm going to plan IPR in the lower arch, because remember, do you remember the protocol for lower incisor intrusion to reduce the lower SP curve? Procline and intrude, IPR, retrude and intrude. In this case, I'm going to reduce the lower SP curve doing incisor intrusion, and that's why I'm going to do in aligner 26 the IPR. Why in aligner 26? Because we do round tripping, procline and intrude, IPR, retrude and intrude. The treatment plan, well, pay attention. Upper molar distalization every 4 aligners, and when I distalize the 6 is when I start with the intrusion at the same time. Okay, remember, pay attention. Every 4 aligners, upper molar distalization protocol, every 4 aligners. Pay attention the way I'm changing the shape of the arch. It's my shape. At the same time, I also do the compression of the second molars. Remember that we do the compression and distal in rotation at the same time while we distalize. In this case, I didn't plan class 2 elastics, but well, if you put the class 2 elastic, it's something good because, as you know, we have to try to avoid losing anchorage. So the class 2 elastics is something that works fantastic when we do the upper molar distalization protocol. Okay, pay attention once again. Distal, the 7, doing compression and distal in rotation. Expand, intrude, the 6. So we are distalizing every 4 aligners. And the tip here is while I start with the station of the first molar, I distalize and intrude at the same time. In the lower arch, what we are doing is pay attention, procline and intrude, IPR, and then retrude and intrude. Pay attention to the video. Okay, you will see how I do round tripping. Also, pay attention the way I manage the 8. Okay, the 8, as you can see, pay attention. What I'm doing is distal crown tip and intrusion at the same time, but I'm not moving the root to mesial at the beginning. Okay, distal crown tip and intrusion. This is so important because if they do the mesial root movement, you are going to desinsert the aligner. It's not going to work. Okay? In the lower arch, remember, I'm reducing the lower speaker, doing procline and intrude, IPR, retrude and intrude. Okay? And remember, something that I also try to do is I try to move all the teeth with all the aligners at the same time, together. All the teeth with all the aligners at the same time. Okay, so it's mandatory for intrusion is to expand the arch. So I'm moving, I try to take the potential of the aligner with all the aligners. Okay? Pay attention to the way I'm uprighting the molar. Pay attention to the 8. Intrude and tick back to the crown. Okay? And distalizing every 4 aligners. So pay attention to the video of the way I'm expanding the arch. Okay? So I'm distalizing, compressing the 7, every 4 aligners, you can check, and pay attention how at the same time I'm intruding the molar. The protocol is what you have learned in other lessons about how to distalize a class 2. So in this case, what I'm doing is, in addition to this protocol of how to distalize the class 2, in addition to that, I'm doing also intrusion of the molars, while I distalize the first molar. The same in the other side, but in this case, because the 7 is also extruded, what I'm distalizing and intruding from the beginning. Okay, I'm going to assist this movement with the screws, but you have to plan the movement in the software. Okay, so the most important thing is not the attachments are important, all these things, but this is how you plan that. So this intrusion without screws is not predictable. I'm doing that with screws. And also I want that pay attention please to the 38 and the 48. What I'm doing, tick back to the crown and intrusion. I'm not doing tick back to the crown and mesial root tip, because if you do that, you will desinsert the aligner. So important. What I told you, I am not using class 2 elastics because the class 2 was not so severe, but if you want to put, for example, a cut in the 3 in the upper arch and a cut in the 5 in the lower arch and put a short elastic, will help you to avoid the losing anchorage. In this case, I will use 4 screws, 2 infrazygomatic crest and 2 palatal screws. Okay, 2 in the infrazygomatic crest for the buccal, 2 in the palatal. You learn in other lessons how to put them, and what it's doing, the patient is using during all the movement this elastic over the aligner. The Power of the elastic is between 6 and 8 ohms, and the size depends where you put the elastic. 5, 16, whatever. You have to feel pressure. You have to feel that the elastic is doing pressure. Okay? So the patient is using 24 hours all day the elastic over the aligner. They only remove the elastic and the aligner when they take it out to it. As you can see, the way this is pushing, so it's distalizing, and this elastic is helping me to intrude at the same time. The idea that we want is that, to do this movement, okay? And pay attention in 10 months, look at that. Amazing, right? Only in 10 months, okay? Only in 10 months, pay attention to that, okay? Here, the shape of the arch, where you see the screws, okay? Still, now we are going to do an aesthetic phase. We're going to remove the attachments, and we're going to do an aesthetic phase to change the retro constructions and the all attachments. But in the lower arch, I have reduced about 3 millimeters the lower speed curve by intruding the lower arch. Remember, in the lower, procline and intrude, IPR, retrude and intrude. Okay? And this is the protocol. Remember, you learned that procline and intrude while we are uprighting the buccal segment, and we procline to 94 degrees. Then I will do the IPR and then retrude and intrude to finish with 90 degrees and the lower speed curve flat. Okay, you learned that in other lessons, but I love to remember, okay, you know that we work better when we repeat and repeat and repeat the protocols. Okay, pay attention to the aids. Okay, I am writing the molars, distal crown tip and intrusion. Don't move in the root to mesial. And look at this, how we center the midline, we improve the deep bite, and pay attention to the intrusion of the molars. 5 millimeters in 10 months. Changing every week the aligners. I move with the default movement, quarter of millimeter in each aligner. Okay, in this case 5 millimeters, doctors. 4 millimeters in the other side. And the evolution, as you can see, the class 2 is solved, the intrusion of the molar, the nice torque of the upper incisors. In the other side the same, I improve the torque, I improve 5 millimeters. Look at the solving of the class 2, now nice engagement in class 1. Deep bite solve, and the protocol work. Okay, doctors, remember, protocols are everything. Okay, don't reinvent the wheel. You know how to distalize. Now in this case, distalize, but tell in addition to the distalization, ask for intrusion at the same time. And put the attachment, the screws and the elastic over the aligner, pushing, moving up the molar at the same time. But you don't have to modify the protocol. So remember that it's the same shape that you are looking for. Remember that you have to distalize and compress the 7 at the same time. Remember about giving the buccal root torque to avoid the inclination of the crown. So all the details that you have learned in other lessons, but applying now the protocol of intrusion of the molars at the same time. Okay? And well, once again, thank you very much to be there in the other side of the computer. Thank you very much for following our program. And well, we'll keep in touch. Okay? Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.